What I didn't like about that period of my life particularly was how much work took me away from the rest of life. Do you know what I mean? It's like work absorbed so much of my soul that everything else started to get lost in that.
Seatbelts on for takeoffs, landings. If you're going to be moving around, just do it slow. No running back and forth. Other than that, sick bags in the back. Enjoy.
This is about what makes me tick as a guest. Getting in an aircraft, going to somewhere new to search for a new camp. Yeah. In Antarctica.
So when you want to create a new camp, take me from just the ideation phase to turning it into a reality and the kind of steps that are required.
What we're having fun with right now is I think we really know the Antarctic environment. We know what kind of works and what's a showstopper. And here we've like got masses of wind, you know, the wind is our main, you know, I would say enemy, or you've got to work with it.
What you reckon is coming here and then swirling? I'm just feeling, feel the wind? It's here.
Then we've got cold, obviously, and then we've got snow accumulation. So we've got all these different things that we have to, that are really atypical issues for where we operate.
We're going to install an automated weather station. So basically this thing is going to feed back wind direction, wind speed, temperature, and then we're going to leave it here for like 4 or 5 months, and then see what it says and see if our guesses are correct.
The single hardest part throughout the process of building a camp is what?
I mean, think of 1 litre of fuel and how it has to get from the coast to here and how expensive that is. So then times that by every single building material, from a hammer to a nail, everything has to come out. And yeah, I mean, there's usually just a lot of hope and a lot of optimism thrown in there and a lot of hard work. And then you get like hit by a blizzard, and the blizzard undoes all your work, or you're halfway through constructing something and then a massive blizzard hits. So
is there something that comes to mind over the years of building camps that was like the worst example of what could go wrong?
Yeah, we had Whichaway camp, we had 17 days before the Jordanian royal family were arriving. And we literally arrived in Antarctica with piles and piles of wood and fiberglass. And the team, with seriously high winds, we just had to work almost 24/7. Like we worked like 21-hour days. And when the Jordanians arrived, they, you know, leant up against a wall and like there's wet paint all over their jacket from where we just like, everything was sort of happening simultaneously. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know, somehow you just make it work. So I think what we're doing now is like, we know the function. Now we're trying to create something which is just an amazing form. So it's really aesthetically pleasing. I'm thinking if we go, see the shadow line? Just beneath the shadow line, a flat area there. Yeah. Because that would be your backdrop. And that's your front. The easiest thing to do is you just get a shipping container, you put a window in it and a door, and there's your thing. But what we want is something that is really, the guest can experience the outside and constantly sort of be reconnected to that wilderness. That site's just amazing. Like the views, it's surreal, and this is Antarctica, so like, you know, you want people to just blow their socks off when they see that view. You've got to feel it in the same way that other guests will do, you know, like sharing that.
Being in places like this affects you how?
It completely awakens me. It really awakens me. It's not just the cold air and the bright light and the harsh conditions. The scale, just being humbled by vast peaks, and everywhere I'm looking, I'm just staring in awe. And it's just like, it's impossible not to feel alive.
What's your guess as to how many people have actually been here?
Like, so few. 10 people a year.
So we've hiked up a bit of ways from where you think there's opportunity to put a camp, but what are you envisioning after having been down there today?
Well, this landscape is, we've got just a panoramic of absolute beauty. So the sort of standard, like room with a window looking out doesn't really work. So I'm thinking more something like a honeycomb bee structure, but with glass on every side. So you feel like you're completely immersed in the landscape. And building that on that flat area there. But from up here, I mean, it would look like it's in the middle of the ocean.
This does look like you could be at the ocean.
I mean, if you dropped acid, it would look way like it. Yeah.
So gut, how long before you have a built out camp here that's comparable to an Echo or a Whichaway?
Well, I think the first step is that we're just doing a recce right now. So next step is then how we do the environmental permits, how we make sure it all fits together. But I would like to do it in 2 years, be operational.
I mean, you gotta run like hell to pull that off, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm kind of an impatient person.
How many camps do you want?
I don't think I want lots. I think it's about sort of demand, and I want to keep the camps really small. So what's really important to me, like you got yesterday, and which I still got yesterday, is that moment of discovery. And I really mean that. If I build a hotel, which I wouldn't get permission for anyway, but if I built a hotel with 400 rooms, like that would just ruin every element of what is so special about this place. So having small camps of like 12 people, that's where you get the magic.
If you could, predict the future and envision any number of camps, is it one more? Is it 5 more?
I think one more is where I am. And then also it's like, how many gray hairs do I want? It's like, how long can I keep doing this? But I think that when I feel like I've still got more to do, I'll do more. I don't want to build a proliferation of camps, but I think that in these different environments, it's so different. Like from Whichaway to Echo to then the new place that we were at yesterday, the environments are really different.
As I understand it, from like 2015 to 2020, your family was like reasonably concerned for you because of the extent to which you were working. Never took a day off. As they said it, the level of stress was to an unhealthy degree. Elaborate a little on kind of that period. Give a little color to it.
I'd wake up every night at 2 a.m. and work till 5 a.m. every that was just standard. And then the kids would come in at like 6 a.m. and off you go to work again, I repeat. So that period of life, I think every entrepreneur has that, where you're sweating bullets because at 2 a.m., you don't have the money to pay the payroll or the whatever the hell it is. So I think that's part of and function of being an entrepreneur. Secondly, inherently what is happening out here is high stress. I mean, we're landing a 300,000 pound bit of metal that is traveling at 200 miles an hour onto an ice runway in a highly mercurial environment. Like the weather patterns change, blizzards hit, and then we've got really rich, demanding clients that to fuse into that. So,
But is there a single moment that comes to mind that was as close as you got to just your breaking point?
I think it's kind of like boiling the frog. You know what I mean? You put the frog in the water when it's cold and you heat it up. And so you don't realize quite how much stress you're under because it's incremental. And I didn't have a sort of, classic sort of panic attack breakdown, but I was my elasticity had definitely gone.
How was that visible in you at the time to those close to you?
I think that's just crazy levels of fatigue, snappy, and also sort of what I didn't like about that period of my life particularly was how much work took me away from the rest of life. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Sure.
Work absorbed so much of my soul that everything else started to get lost in that. So I'm really glad that we've kind of plateaued, and I kind of 3 years ago, in fact, I do remember the defining moment. In fact, you asked for a defining moment. I got exactly the one. COVID hit, and so...
And your dad said COVID had you on your knees and took you to the very edge.
Yeah, COVID sucked. COVID sucked because it was like, there's no aviation because people aren't traveling, and then there's no travel and tourism. And then we had 6 full-bore blizzards hit our camps and knocked out like the generators, knocked out all sorts of stuff. So we've got people here who are in a really high-stress environment. No electricity, stuff like that. So we're trying to get everything fixed, and then the next storm would just come and just destroy us again, and then they'd pick themselves up. Next one, 6 times that happened, and then the only thing I could think to do was just work harder. You know, you're in that sort of mindset of just, I need to just work longer and harder and harder and longer.
Yeah, but there's a point in which you can't physically do any more than you're already doing.
Yeah, there is. And I came to that sort of epiphany of like, doesn't matter how many hours I work, I will still not be done. You know, look, a prolonged period of a decade of not sleeping properly and working your ass off is probably not good for your health. Yeah. I just hope that I can rebound from that properly and all the rest.
What was the moment where you felt like you could take a breath for the first time?
Only recently, like only in the last sort of, say, 6-8 months. And that's just...
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel really different in myself. Maybe a year, just because I said, look, I don't care if the bottom line doesn't matter anymore. I'm gonna just spend $1 million on new staff. So we got new staff, new people, and it took 2 years for them to kind of actually take responsibility and really like. And then suddenly, like, I literally went to a chiropractor once, and he kind of like went, and my whole body went. And I hadn't breathed properly. I hadn't taken a breath for like sort of like 4 months. Like I was just breathing this really shallow kind of like fight or flight sort of panicky breathing. And that moment was just like, Jesus, okay, I need to redress it. And I just sort of like went, I will not let my kids kind of like, you know, be left alone. And I don't want them to remember a sort of tired, gaunt, like graying, slightly snappy guy. I want them to remember all the fun stuff of like going yesterday into the mountains and how alive I felt. That's exactly what I want to take my kids on. Would you like $1 million in your pocket or your mental health? I very much took it was like, screw the $1 million. Like what the hell am I doing this for? And I think that that's a really important thing. You know, people have asked me whether I want to sell White Desert and what's your number? I'm kind of like, it's not been my motivation. Like that, I get off on like finding a solution to some crazy logistical challenge and to going into some beautifully remote place. That's what fires me up. If you pay me $10 million extra for buying the company, that doesn't really float me.